Shalom, shalom, and welcome to Yahweh's Biblical Research Study Class. First, we're going to say our national prayer, and then we will say the Lord's Prayer in Hebrew. Let's all stand and face the east. O Yahweh, God of our salvation, save us, gather us together, deliver us from these heathens, so that we may give thanks to thy holy name and glory in thy praise. Blessed be the holy name of Yahweh and Israel forever. O Yahweh, let them be confounded that persecute us, but let not us be confounded. Bring upon our enemies the day of evil, and destroy them with double destruction. Please forgive our faults for breaking your laws, Yahweh. Please forgive us for breaking your laws. Help us to never bring shame upon thy great name, nor reproach against thy word. Surely our prayers, sacrifice, lives, and our death are all for thee, O Yahweh. Tefillah, Avenu Shabbat Shemayim, Yuka Tesimeta, Tavoma Teota, Yase Rejuta, Shabbat Shemayim Kain Barare, Et Lekin Tukane, Tain La Nu Hayom, Shlaklane, all Kafe, the Mochi Soul King, Monarchy. They all took the aid, the baby Sayan. King Kasei, me Nara, Jelaka, Amambaha. They are Gibberon. They are Teferet, the old name, Old Sila. We thank you, Yahweh, O living and eternal King, who has so mercifully restored our souls again. Praise Yahweh. Well, again, welcome to our Thursday night biblical research study class. Well, first, I'd like to testify that Yahweh is God and that his son's name is Yahweh. It's interesting, most interesting, that the world did not know the name Yahweh. The world now knows the name Yahweh. It is everywhere, and it's because of the works of Yahweh ben Yahweh, the son of Yahweh. First, he had to teach the world the name Yahweh. Then, after teaching the world that his father's name is Yahweh, then he told us or taught us, according to John 5:43, he says that I come in my Father's name. If you don't know the Father's name, it is impossible to know the Son's name. If the Son's name is God or the Father's name is God, then the Son's name will be God ben God. Or if his name is Lord, it'll be Lord ben Lord. But there are gods many and lords many. He had to identify the God that created everything. His name, the God of the Bible name, is Yahweh. There are a lot of people that refer to the Son as Jesus. Well, if that's true, then the Father's name had to be Jesus. The Son said he comes in the Father's name. It is most important that you know the Son, the Father's name, so that you can know the Son's name. Praise Yahweh. Again, the name Yahweh is the name that was hidden from us. There are many institutions that admit that. The Catholic institution admit that they hid the name Yahweh for over 1,600 years. 1,600 years. But now they are admitting that the name Yahweh is the true name. After 1,600 years. why have all names been exposed? Why have all other names been exposed to us? Because they're not the name of the God of the Bible. Praise Yahweh. Now, before I go any further, it is important for us to understand, since we're talking about the name and the importance of the name, I want us to go to Zechariah 14:9. Zechariah 14:9. And Zechariah 14:9 says, and the Lord Yahweh shall be king over all the earth in that day. In that day shall there be one Lord, Yahweh, and his name one. We must understand, and the world must understand, that they don't have the authority to rename the Creator. It's his name. That takes some gall for us, or for someone, not me, for someone to change the name of the God of the Bible, the creator of the sun, moon, and stars. Why was this done? So we would never know that he's truly our Father. If there's Lord's many and God's many, according to Zechariah 14:9, then which one are we talking about? Lord and God also are titles that are applied to people. And he say they're God's many and Lord's many. But it says that his name one, and that's Zechariah 14:9. First Corinthians 8:5. 1 Corinthians 8:5. 1 Corinthians 8:5. And it says, for though there be that are called gods, whether in heaven or in earth, as there be gods many and lords many. We need to understand that Lord and God are titles. They're not names. Now, somebody took the name Yahweh out of the Bible. If you have a Strong's Exhaustive Concordance, it in the strongest Strong's Exhaustive Concordance, it will tell you everywhere that Lord and God appear in the Bible that the original reads Yahweh. The name is most important. It says sing praises to his name. Now, John 5:43, where the Son says, I come in my Father's name. If you don't know the Father's name, it's impossible for you to know the Son's name. This system of things have given him the name Jesus. The man that we're talking about is a Hebrew. The letter J is not in the Hebrew language to this very day. Matter of fact, the letter J is about between 400 and 500 years old. The man we're talking about is over 2,000 years old. So we need to understand and come to know what is the true Son's name. This system has changed the Creator's name, changed the Son's name, and has changed our name. We cannot identify who we are without our name. If you ask a man from Russia what is his nationality, he would say Russian. He speaks Russian. he has a Russian name. He come from a land called Russia. The same with Germany. If you ask a man from Germany what is his nationality, he would say German. He speak German. He got a German name. So the son have to have a Hebrew name. Not only just a Hebrew name, John 5:30 says, John 5:43, is that John 5:43? He says that I come in my Father's name. So it was most important for the world to hide the name Yahweh because they knew that the Son would return and say, I come in my Father's name, John 5:43. Then he also say, and ye receive me not. If another shall come in his own name, him shall receive. If you go to Psalms 18:26, Psalms 18:26, come on, Psalms 18 and 26. And it says, 18:26. Excuse me, Psalms 118. 118:26. Psalms 118, 118. Come on, Psalm 118 and 26. And it says, Blessed be he who cometh in the name of the Lord. Well, that means the Lord has a name. And the Son is talked about here in Psalms, and it says, Blessed be he that cometh in the name of the Lord. We have blessed you out of the house of the Lord. John 5:43, he says, I come in my Father's name. So here in Psalms, it's talking about somebody in the future that's going to come in the name of the Lord Yahweh. Zechariah 14:9 says, and he has one name in that day. Well, this is the day. Praise Yahweh. So, scriptures that we have been studying and kind of governing our study is 2 Timothy 2:15. 2 Timothy 2:15. You have to write that scripture down. 2 Timothy 2:15. And it says, study. 2 Timothy 2:15. It says, study to show thyself approved, rightly dividing the word of truth. You can only divide truth from falsehood. So it's telling us, and that's a commandment. Study in Hebrew means lahag. Lahag in the concordance says intense mental application. So it's not just about calling words, but it's about studying and researching words, because the word is how Yahweh communicates with us. So, intense mental application. You have to apply that which we study. Study also means using multiple books. Wisdom is the principal thing. The Bible, with all thy getting, get an understanding. Meaning you have to study. The Bible is written in English. Don't assume that you know the definition or the spiritual meaning or the biblical meaning of these words. You have to study for yourself. Praise Yahweh. Then we're into Psalms 19:7. Psalms 19:7. Psalms 19:7. And it says, and the law of the Lord Yahweh is perfect. And it says that the law is converting the soul. The testimony of the Lord Yahweh is sure, making wise the simple. A definition that we have looked up when we look up the word convert, and it says a spiritual turning away from sin in repentance to the Son. Remember now, everywhere that Lord and God appear in the Bible, the original reads Yahweh. The Son said himself in John 5:43 that he comes in his Father's name. So everywhere that we read Lord and God, we say Yahweh. When we see titles referring to the Son, we say Yahweh ben Yahweh. It also says repentance to Yahweh ben Yahweh in faith. Then it says it is a dramatic turning away from one's path in order to pursue an entirely new path. So if you want to get on Yahweh's path, you got to turn away from the path that we're on, that we've been taught by this system. Then it's another definition says turning one's back on the system of this world and its ungodly value. Ungodly value. This is what some of what convert means. When it says the law, what does the law deal with? It deals with procedures. It deals with systems and customs. That's what the law is. And the law will make you perfect. Now, this system says nobody could be perfect. And they taught us that the Old Testament don't count. Well, here in the Old Testament, Psalms 19:7, it says that law is perfect and the law will convert your soul. Soul in the concordance means mind. So if we're not studying the law, implementing the law in our everyday living, yes, you're imperfect. Matthew 5:48 commands us. It says, be ye therefore perfect. Matthew 5:43. Matthew 5:43. Now you're going to have to write these scriptures down and study them for yourself. But Matthew 5:48 says, be ye therefore perfect. Now, if you claim the God that created everything to be your father, he's saying, be ye therefore perfect, even as your Father, which is in heaven, is perfect. As means to be the same, to be no difference. So since we've been brought up in an imperfect society, then somebody had to come back and share these scriptures with us and let us know that Yahweh is our Father and we're to be like our Father. How will you tell Yahweh's children? Because you'll see some people working to learn the law, conforming to the law. Yes, this is what is meant by you have to be renewed in the spirit of your mind. Yes, we need to be renewed. We must overcome. Remember now, convert means to turn from this system and its ungodly attributes. This system promotes ungodly attributes. Praise Yahweh. So, as we learn the law, then we come into the word communion. Some people call it Holy Communion. What does that word mean? It means Yahweh will share or exchange of his intimate thoughts and feelings his intimate thoughts and feelings. He wants to share them with his children. Intimate means private. It's not for everybody. Now, we want to go to Genesis because it says, when the wicked rule, the people mourn. When the righteous rule, the people rejoice. I don't know, but the people are definitely mourning. We have to understand that the people that in rulership has messed up the air, the water, and the food. That means they are a total opposer to Yahweh. It's like whatever that Yahweh say, they do the opposite. What kind of person would mess up the air, the water, and the food? That's not a righteous person. We're going to get into this a little bit, and we want to go to Genesis chapter 4. Genesis chapter 4. This is 7:20 already. Genesis chapter 4. And it says, and Adam knew Eve, his wife, and she conceived and bare Cain, and then told Adam, I have gotten the man from the Lord. Adam knew his wife. Brother Naya,
Yes, sir.
can you look up the word knew? Knew, knew. And while he's looking that up, I have a Hebrew Key Study Bible, the word knew. Need some paper? Need some paper?
New. The word new is comes from the old English word "niao," which means to know. New is the past tense of know. Generally refers to having knowledge or familiarity or understanding of something or someone. New, to have intellectual understanding or awareness of something. To know through experience, observation, or relationship. New, it refers to a deep personal connection. New, understanding the facts or truths. New, covenant relationships with Yahweh or others. In summary, the word new in Hebrew often is represented and goes beyond mere intellectual understanding. It emphasizes experience, knowledge, and personal relationship, or even intimacy, depending on the context. This highlights the depth and connection. That's it.
Mm. Can you use another source?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. See, it's important for us to understand these words because this society has been very clever. And I'm going to share in the Hebrew Key Study Bible the word new. It means be acquainted with a woman in a sexual way, having sexual intercourse. sexual intercourse. Yes, they had a relationship, a sexual intercourse. Did you have another source,
Yes, sir.
Anaya?
Yes, sir. Yeah, in the original what I just read, they did specify intimacy also. So they did talk about knowing them sexually. But in the Merriam-Webster,
Okay.
knew as in understood, to come to knowledge of something, to have a clear idea of, tasted.
You're kind of breaking up a little bit, Anaya. Is that my end or your end?
Can you hear me clearly now?
I hear you, sir.
Okay, so let me give you some synonyms I have. Synonyms of new: understood, appreciated, had, apprehended, possessed, picked up, tasted, received, digested, underwent, felt.
That's it?
Yes, sir.
All right. So in the Key Study Bible, in the lexical aid to the Old Testament, new means sexual intercourse. Now, we knew that the devil was in this whole equation also. But when you go to 1 John 3:12, 1 John 3 and 12, 1 John 3 and 12, and it says, not as Cain, who was of that wicked one, and slew his brother. And wherefore slew him he, and it says he slew him because his own works were evil and his brother's works was righteous. So it says that Cain is of that wicked one. That's Lucifer. That's the devil. That's Satan. We must understand that Lucifer, devil, Satan, if you look it up in good dictionaries, it will tell you an opposer of Yahweh. It will tell you a wicked and evil person. So here in Genesis chapter 4, chapter 1, and Eve knew, and Adam knew Eve, his wife, and she conceived and bare Cain. Then she told Adam, because Adam knew at the time he didn't have sex with her. She told Adam, I got this child from the Lord. She's referring to Lucifer as her Lord. All right. Then we go down to verse 2, and it says, and she bare his brother Abel. And Abel was a keeper of sheep, but Cain was a tiller of the ground. So here we see that these are two sons, and if we don't do any studying, we assume that both of these sons was from Adam. But it says in 1 John, John, that Cain was of that wicked one. That's Lucifer. He's the wicked one. Now, and it says Cain was a keeper of sheep, but no, excuse me, Abel was a keeper of sheep, but Cain was a tiller of the ground. Can you help us out with the word ground, Anaya?
Ground, Ground.
Yes, sir. Before you go to that, Anaya, we're gonna
Yes.
go to Ezekiel chapter 34 and 1. Ezekiel 34, is it Ezekiel 34, 31. 34 and 31. And let's see what these sheeps are. Ezekiel chapter 34, verse 31, and it says, "And ye my flock, the flock of my pasture, are men. And I am your God, Yahweh, saith the Lord God, Yahweh." So Cain was of the ground, that's his work. Abel was about acquiring righteous men. That's Abel's work. Cain's work was evil and wicked. But Abel, according to 2, and it said he was a keeper of sheep. Well, Abel was a keeper of men, righteous men. Did you get a chance to find ground?
Yes, sir.
Now let's see what Cain's work is. Because say his work was the fruit of the ground. Yes, sir.
Okay. Let's do the etymology first. The word ground comes from the Old English grund, meaning bottom, foundation, or surface of the earth. The meaning of the word ground refers to the earth's surface, soil, or land. Ground also can be a base or foundation for ideas, arguments, or physical structures. It also means earth, soil, refers to the physical ground or soil, often used in agriculture. The ground is the foundation of creation narratives. In the biblical use, they also use the ground to describe the ground is cursed after the fall of man. The word ground has deep connections to humanity in Hebrew. It symbolizes both physical earth and the spiritual foundation of life, reminding us of origins, dependence, and creation. That's it.
Mm. Ground also represents low mind, immorality, things that are not of Yahweh. You got another source out? And it says in verse 3, it says, "And in the process of time, it came to pass that Cain brought of the fruit of the ground
Yes.
and offered." You got something?
Yeah, so the first definition I gave him was ground means the bottom.
Okay, that's a low state.
Yes. Base.
You're in the you're in the same base.
Yes.
Is that what you said?
Yes, sir.
So Abel was a keeper of sheep, which are men, righteous men, because Cain's work was righteous. Excuse me. Abel's work was righteous. Cain's work was a low-minded kind of work. And he wanted to bring those low minds to Yahweh and offer it to Yahweh as an offering. We have to be very mindful as we recruit people that we're recruiting righteous people, ethical people, people that has godliness about them. We're not to bring low-minded, base people to the nation of Yahweh because we have no use for them. And it says Cain brought this fruit and offered it to Yahweh.
I,
Then
I have
verse 4 say, and Abel he also brought of the firstlings of his flock and of the fat thereof, talking about men, and the Lord Yahweh had respect to Abel's offering.
I have a little more
But for which word?
for the ground.
Okay.
So ground is also used as a metaphor in a condition where one is focused on material or base matters rather than elevated or noble ideals.
That's the one we're talking about. So the ground is lacking noble ideas, base mind. Is that what we're saying, Anaya?
Yes, sir.
There was another one you said. Not noble ideas,
Okay, so
base minds, and it was another one.
yeah, let me read the whole definition. A condition where one is focused on material or
So
base
this is a
matters.
carnal mind,
Yes,
a
sir.
base mind, a low mind. But understand now, Cain bought this offering to Yahweh. Was you through, Anaya?
Um, it also implies ground can be implied being preoccupied with trivial or unworthy thoughts, lacking spiritual or moral elevation.
No, now see you making up stuff now. That you didn't see that in there, did you?
Yes, sir.
Lacking morality. This is what the word ground means. But Cain bought this kind of mind to Yahweh as an offering. Yahweh had respect for Abel's offering, but it says in 5, but Cain, and to his offering, he had not respect. Cain was very wroth, and his countenance fell. So Cain got upset with Yahweh. He wanted Yahweh to accept his immoral works, his carnal works, lacking noble ideas. This sounds like the people that messed up the air, the water, and the food. Then Yahweh said, now, and then it says, and his countenance fell. Verse 6 said, and the Lord Yahweh said unto Cain, why are you wroth, Cain? And why is your countenance fallen? If thou doest well, if thou doest well, thou shalt not be accepted. If thou doest not well, sin lieth at the door, and unto thee shall be his desires, and thou shalt rule over him. So here, Cain trying to make a move on Yahweh, Lucifer knew he got the Eve before Adam did to get his child in there. And because his child was the firstborn, which he knew the Hebrew law, his child was the firstborn, but it wasn't Adam's child. He was of that wicked one. But Yahweh told him, say, Cain, if you do well, you can rule over Abel. So all this is about rulership. Lucifer trying to put his son in place to rule, as opposed to Adam's son's Abel. When you look up the name Cain, it means one who causes confusion, one who causes a disturbance. one who causes chaos. In a lot of different dictionaries, if you look up Cain, it'll say raising hell. It'll say raising Cain, parentheses, hell. And we can see that this world has to have been ruled by Lucifer's children. But he told him, if you do well, Cain, you can rule over Abel. Check what happened out in 8. And Cain talked with Abel his brother, and it came to pass when they were in the field that Cain rose up against Abel his brother and slew him. See, Cain knew it wasn't in his nature to do well. He knew the only way he could rule was to kill Abel. Now, Abel really is us. What does Abel name mean? One who's adroit, one who's adroit, one that's godly, one that's righteous. Cain killed that mindset. When you look at the world today, you see all of Cain's attributes being manifested. Murder, causing confusion, causing disturbance, being an opposer to Yahweh. When you look around the world, you see Cain's attributes. This proves that Cain, Lucifer's family, is in rulership. Now, something is taking place in verse 10. Well, read the rest of 9. It says, and the Lord Yahweh said to Cain, where is Abel thy brother? Listen to Cain now. And you'll hear some people say this today. And he said, I know not. So Cain is a liar just like his father was a liar. And he also says, am I my brother's keeper? So we as Yahweh's children or Adam's descendants must be our brother's keeper. But Cain said, am I my brother's keeper? And he lied. He didn't know what happened to Cain, that happened to Abel. He killed, and we're also talking about mindsets here too now. A certain mindset was killed. Then in verse 10 it says, and he said, what hast thou done, Cain? And then it says, the voice of thy brother's blood crieth unto me from the ground. Can you look up the word blood, Anaya?
Blood.
Are you there?
Yes, sir. The word blood. Can you hear me? Hello?
We got a poor connection tonight, Anaya,
Can you hear
for
me
the
clearly?
word blood. I hear you now, sir.
Okay.
I don't hear you now.
Blood. Blood represents life itself and vitality. Blood refers to kinship or lineage.
Okay, so when we read the word blood, it's talking about kinship or lineage. So when it says that the blood of Abel crieth unto the Lord Yahweh, that's those of us that are here today. We're crying to Yahweh because we're tired of immoral rulership. We're tired of the wickedness in this world. We're kin. Now, Adam was a son of Yahweh. And the blood of Adam or Abel crieth unto the Lord. So we're not talking about physical blood. We're talking about some lineage. You have some more, Anaya?
I have a little more. Blood as in covenant. Blood signifies the sealing of covenant between Yahweh and humanity. That's it.
Okay. So it says the blood, now Cain killed Abel. That also represents a certain mindset because we, as Yahweh's children, according to Genesis 15:13. Now remember now, in verse 7, Yahweh told Cain, if you do well, Cain, you can rule over Abel. So this all about rulership. Well, this world's rulership has come to an end. Now it's time for the righteous to come into rulership. This world, remember now, convert means to turn away from this system and its ungodly attributes. Then this requires us to study to be able to turn. Turn means we have to change mentally. We have to overcome this world mentally. Now, Genesis 15:13 says, and he said unto Abram, know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and they shall afflict them 400 years. So here is a prophecy for some people to be in a strange land for 400 years. And when you're in this strange land 400 years, you're going to be afflicted and you're going to serve these people. Psalms 83, chapter 83, starting at chapter 1 through 5, it says, keep not thy silence, O God, Yahweh. Hold not thy peace, and be not still, O God, Yahweh. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult. So here Yahweh has some enemies, and they that hate Yahweh have lifted up their head. 3 says, they have taken crafty counsel against thy people and consulted against the hidden one. So some people took crafty counsel against us. And these people that took crafty counsel against us, they have said, come, let us cut them off from being a nation. We're the only people on the planet Earth that's ever been cut off from being a nation. We don't know where we come from. We call ourselves colored, Negro, blacks, now African Americans. We don't know what we are. And it says they have cut us off from being a nation, not a religion, but they cut us off from being a nation. We were once a nation. This means we had a culture, we had a way of life, we had a way of doing things. Then it says, cut us off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. You won't know your last name. You won't know nothing about yourself. 5 say, for they have consulted together. They are united together with one consent. They are confederate against us. It says that some people that got together and conspired to cut us off from being a nation, and they're unified in doing this. Go to Deuteronomy chapter 28. Deuteronomy chapter 28. And when you read chapter 28, No, excuse me, chapter 23. Excuse me. Deuteronomy chapter 23. Anaya,
Yes, sir.
can you help me out? All right, Deuteronomy chapter 28. Deuteronomy chapter 28. And when you go to 28 and 49, it says, "For the Lord Yahweh shall bring a nation against thee from far, from the ends of the earth, as swift as an eagle flieth, a nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand." So it says, a nation from far, and this nation will be known swift as an eagle. See, America is known as the country that eagles is one of their, what represents them. Verse 68 says, "And the Lord Yahweh shall bring thee in Egypt again with ships." So what happened to us in Egypt? He said he's going to do it again. So we have to know what Egypt means. Egypt means a land of suffering, a land is lacking knowledge, a land of people preying on people. So he said he's going to do it again to us, the same thing he done to Egypt. But he says, this Egypt said, we're going to bring you there again with ships. And we were brought here by ships. By the way whereof I spake unto thee, and thou shalt see it no more, and there ye shall be sold to your enemies. Well, we were bought here by ships, and we were sold to our enemies for bondmen and bondwomen. Then it says, but no man shall buy you. See, nobody owns us. We belong to Yahweh. Again, we're the only people that has ever been cut off from being a nation. Ask a man from Russia what's his nationality, he's going to say Russian. He speak Russian. Come from a land called Russia. Got a Russian name. You ask a man from Germany what's his nationality, he's going to say German. He speak German. Got a German name. Come from a land called Germany. There is no land called African American land. Africa is a continent. It is not a nation. There are many nations and tribes in Africa. Colored, Negro. We don't speak Negroese. We have what they call English names and we speak English. If the Indians got America back and told everybody to go back to their land, where would we go? We have no idea. The best we could say is Africa, and there are multiple nations and tribes in Africa. It's a continent. We don't speak African Americanese. We don't speak coloredese. It's like we change every 10 or 15. Yahweh say a proverb and a byword, which means nickname. The interesting thing, we accept these names because we don't know who we are. We don't know what our culture is. We don't know about our godly side. That's why when you part of them cutting us off from being a nation, when we go to religious institutions, we see another man up there. Why is that? The Bible, Revelations 1:13 through 15, say he had woolly hair, skin like fine brass, as if it burned in a furnace. Anything you burn in the furnace is dark. It say he had woolly hair. So we need to understand, it is 7:55. Hopefully that you study these scriptures for yourself. Don't take my word for it. Study it for yourself. I understand clearly that it's mind-boggling, but you have to study for yourself. take everything that I'm saying as if it's not the truth. But this started all the way back in Genesis. It was about rulership. Rulership is about to change. And we're not going to have to fight for this. Yahweh is going to fight for us. Nations around the world are now looking narrowly upon America. Anaya, excuse me,
Yes, sir.
can you give us some wonderful announcements?
Yes, sir. The Yahweh Ben Yahweh Alliance will be hosting Passover, the Feast of Unleavened Bread, in Riviera Beach. We welcome all moral, like-minded, Yahweh-minded people to join us at the feast. If you join us at YBYalliance.com, that's YBYalliance.com, you will see all of our social media, you'll see all of our videos, you have access to all of our events. Please go to the website, click the contact form, leave your name, number, email, and we will send you all information needed to join our platforms, our Discords, our YouTubes, our Facebook. Again, that's YBYalliance.com.
Anaya, as so wonderfully said, thank you so much. And maybe next week we can give them those dates for the Passover because it's fastly approaching. And that's a biblical holiday that we observe. It's going to be outstanding to know what Passover really means, what it's all about. Praise Yahweh. Well, we're going to stand and say the Lord's Prayer in Hebrew. The Lord's Prayer in Hebrew. Anaya, thank you so much. We're going to stand and face the east and say the Lord's Prayer in Hebrew to our Father. Tefillah. Ave Nushabat Shemayim. Yikate Shemerka. Tavo Makuterka. Yah Sevizonka. Yivashimayim came by Ares. At Lekin Kukenya. Tain La Nu Hayom. Uslak La Nu. All Kate Nu. Emosha Soul King. The Monotony. La Kote La Nu. We all tefienu, Radedi Sayom, King Ka Senu, Min Hara, Gilaka, Amumbaha. They are Gilera, they are Tefiret, they over me, Siva. We thank thee, Yahweh, O living and eternal King, who has so mercifully restored our souls within him. Again, we look to see you next Thursday. Again, we're in search of all good people. We are the nation of Yahweh. The nation of Yahweh is simply the nation of God. We just happen to know his name. And we're in search of all good people. If you don't believe in being good, please do not come amongst us. We have no use for us. You can also read Daniel 2:44, which says, in the days of these kings, in the days of these kings, that means the ones that are ruling, that the kingdom of Yahweh shall be established, and it shall never fail. It shall never be destroyed, and it'll be established in the days of these rulers. Heaven is on earth, not in the sky. Again, shalom, shalom. Yahweh loves you. The nation of Yahweh loves you, and we love you. Shalom, shalom.